Good afternoon, everyone. Carasoft Technology would like to welcome you to our ServiceNow Federal Tech Talk, Modernizing Maintenance for Government-Owned Facilities. At this time, I'd like to hand the floor over to our speakers. Shade and Matt, the floor is all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you to the Carasoft team for your collaboration and making today happen. We certainly appreciate your sponsorship. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. I love the energy in the chat, so let's keep it going. My name is Shade Ardani. I've been supporting digital transformations in the DoD for the past 10 years. I'm a solutions executive here at ServiceNow, part of the federal team where my partner in crime here, Matt Barrett, and I, we support customers in the DoD. Now, while we specifically cover missions that are DoD focused, everything that you see here today is absolutely repeatable across public sector and certainly throughout the entire federal ecosystem. So to level set, for those of you who are unfamiliar with ServiceNow, we are a platform of automation that digitize everyday tasks and processes into workflows. And these workflows enable the automation that takes our customers away from manual work, spreadsheets, SharePoints, the black hole of back and forth emails, to enable some of the same experiences at work that we're all used to in our private lives, like when you order something off of Amazon or Uber Eats. So this concept of digital transformation is what we've brought into the world of government IT, government-owned facilities. And over the next hour, we're going to focus on leveraging these automation capabilities for tasks in the field, and how they tie together, and how improved workflows and experiences have outcomes that positively affect lives of service members and those in the extended federal workforce. So to introduce the conversation, we want to bring up, my personal favorite federal transformation, one of which, a modernized experience, actually positively impacted lives of U.S. Army soldiers and families with the Army Maintenance Application, or ARMA. We're going to get into how the platform can extend everyday tasks to resources out in the field, on various facilities, assets, and the value that our customers are seeing from moving from reactive to proactive measures when it comes to this work. So Matt is going to run us through a live demo of these sorts of efficiencies, and highlighting some of the preventative maintenance solutions that can ultimately provide really valuable insights into the issues that are impacting life on base. And then we're going to wrap things up and certainly offer ways to keep this conversation going. I'll give you my contact information. We ask that you please participate and ask questions. We'll do our best to answer them as they come in, but we will definitely leave time at the end of the presentation. So to get started, let's jump into the Army Maintenance Application I was telling you about. The project itself was an outgrowth of the Army housing crisis of 2019. There's actually been a lot of information, even recently in the press, about privatized housing issues that are continuing to challenge the Army and other military branches. But to set the stage, this was a time when soldiers and families and are still, living around the world and facing a lot of delays in some of the housing, barracks, in addressing housing maintenance issues like black mold, leaky roofs, electrical issues, broken windows, all things that were affecting the morale and the safety of soldiers and their families. So part of that, Congress basically put down the hammer on the DoD and the Army to improve this environment, to do better by soldiers and their families, to prioritize their living conditions. And so that's where ArmyMaintenance.com came from. And other than some homegrown portals and SharePoint sites, for the most part, the process had formerly been pick up the phone, tell somebody your issue, and hope that they show up, hope that it gets fixed, hope that this request doesn't get lost along the way. And at the end of the day, that's where ServiceNow and ArmyMaintenance.com came in to solve that problem, along with our amazing implementation partners at Softtech. So for the Army management, for the first time, they had access to real-time data. They had insights into cases that were coming in, where they're coming from, what kind of specific issues were they consistently seeing, what's the average resolution time. They could actually maintain detailed SLA metrics for these reported issues. So really, leadership had the ability to use these dashboards and reports to figure out areas that were working really well and areas that could use improvement, and really being empowered to make decisions on how to continue to streamline the system even better. So to recap the look and feel of that solution and some of the immediate benefits, I'm going to hand things over to Matt. He's going to walk us through how the Army was able to improve the experience in submitting these maintenance requests. Over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Sade. Hi, folks. Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Matt Barrett. I'm a senior advisory solution consultant at ServiceNow. I've been working in the platform and automation space for the last 20 or so years. And I'd like to put some color to the solution that Sade just described and show a short clip of the Army maintenance application, or as we like to call it, ARMA. We're briefly going to show how easy it is to submit a maintenance request. So for users who have confirmed their registration, you'll log on at armymaintenance.com, or you can connect to ARMA through your digital garrison app by clicking the link. And after logging in at this landing page, you'll select maintenance support. And then depending upon the type of problem you have, you're going to select the type of maintenance you need. So for this example, we're going to select plumbing. After you do that, on the next screen, you'll see we pre-fill the location based on your registration data. And you can add details such as which floor this is taking place on, which room, and add that to the location and give a good description of the maintenance issue. So water leaking from pipe onto latrine floor. And if you scroll further down, you see the add attachment button. If you click on that, you'll have the choice of uploading a photo from your library or using your handheld device to take a photo or a video of the issue. And now in this photo, we see, from the description of water leaking from pipe onto the latrine floor, we'll select this photo and hit submit. But, from this, we can see not only is water leaking, but the paint is actually bubbling up from the ceiling. So while it sounds like the description was accurate, from a maintenance perspective, this photo actually tells me the problem is likely coming from the floor above, and the pipe appears to be in good shape. So from a technical perspective, this can actually be my initial assessment. I don't have to send somebody on site or go on site myself to do that initial assessment. It's already happened inside that picture, which means as a technician, I can show up on site and ready to go. Now, as Sade mentioned, there's been tremendous value to the Army from this application. The warfighters and their families in terms of improving their quality of life from the ARMA app. Some of those include just being able to access this solution omni-channel, from a mobile app or from a website. There's actually no download required for the web. And it's kind of become ubiquitous through this QR code, that the way in which folks can access it. So if you're on the webinar right now and you have your smartphone handy and you open up your camera and you take a picture of that QR code that's on the back of that keychain, it'll actually take you to the Army Maintenance public portal where you can register and log in. Or if you have a CAT card, you're already registered to log in, right? So, we're providing an improved, end user Uber Eats type of consumer experience to our warfighters and their family to easily report on these issues, attach pictures or videos to help the technician and dispatchers get the right person to the right place with a good understanding of what the problem is, and being able to easily understand the status. As Sade had mentioned, before the solution, it was pick up the phone, dial a number to report the issue, and then just kind of hope that somebody shows up to fix it. No real tracking or understanding of when that may be. if ever. With this solution, though, everybody who submits a ticket has full visibility into where you are in the queue, who the technician is that's going to be assigned, when they're going to be there, when they're on route. And then you also have the ability to collaborate back and forth to provide, comments like the problem's getting worse, or I may not be at home when the technician arrives. My son or my daughter is going to greet you at the door. So, it's a great solution, providing tremendous value in terms of the quality of life for the warfighter and their families. But what I think makes this solution unique ultimately comes down to time to value for the Army. This deployment was faster than traditional coding. It was just 3 months to go live. And that's not just because ServiceNow is cloud native. There's plenty of other cloud native solutions out there, but it's because the platform is inherently low code and model driven by design. You don't have to be a developer to configure these solutions. And also because the platform contains all of the necessary elements you need to build, robust, scalable transformation solutions and be able to do that rapidly. So not only was the solution built quickly and deployed rapidly, but the Now platform with all of its capabilities really makes it easy to enhance and extend the solution. So for instance, making it easy to roll out to other types of users or to new geographies or mission lines, or to support other facility types. And the Army actually has plans to do that. So just to talk a little bit more about how the Army is planning on extending and enhancing ARMA, and talk a little bit about the roadmap, Shanae, I'll turn that back over to you.
Awesome. As Matt mentioned, this was a really fast deployment. We took 8 months to contract, 3 months to deploy. And in January 2021, the initial deployment was launched. And what's really been remarkable has been the scalability of this effort. By April of that same year, just 3 months after the initial deployment, the decision came for ARMA to include non-housing buildings with an expanded fence-to-fence scope. So that goes beyond just housing and will encompass the maintenance processes for all facilities, roads, fence, ground, signs, anything managed by the DPW. By December of that year, 2021, over 200,000 maintenance requests had been submitted in just the 1 year of ARMA availability. And in that year, saving 7,000 hours of manpower. That's just from case deflection by enabling a web portal versus in-person or telephone requests. So as a continuation of where they are now, the natural extension and future vision that we've been painting with them really rounds out what end-to-end looks like. Not only are we taking in the requests, but we're seeing them, we could see them through the actual repair with field service management solution. We affectionately say this is the send a person process, which of course has many more complexities that we'll soon here cover, but in actually taking the maintenance requests and seeing them through resolution, we're getting the right work to the right technicians with the right skills to show up on time at the right place with the right equipment. And that hadn't been tracked before. So think of the immediate ROI by significantly reducing man hours, unnecessary trips to and from the DPW shops, and the benefit being that this modernization drives not only operational efficiencies, but again, reducing effort. So you kind of get both benefits. You're improving the experience of soldiers and their families while also benefiting from cost savings reductions. So to really dive deep into that extended scope and where we're going to spend most of today is in where the architecture of those processes proposed in the field could look like, and how the solution can facilitate, again, that end-to-end from request to repair process. Matt, I'm going to hand it to you, my friend.
Awesome, thank you. Can you hit stop sharing on your screen before
Yes.
I can start mine? Thank you so much. Okay, great. You should be seeing my PowerPoint. process architecture diagram now. And this process architecture really pulls together the end-to-end service delivery. Hang on just one second, make sure that worked just right.
You're good. That was perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, so this process architecture is really pulling together that end-to-end service delivery from request to resolution for facility maintenance. Thinking back to that demo that we saw of the ARMA video, right? It started with their customer, which could be their warfighter or their family members, or potentially mission partners or contractors requesting service, or even a smart device, really. Could be streaming its telemetry data to report an issue. And that request or issue could be for a variety of federally maintained facilities, such as barracks or dorms, family housing, child development centers, schools, or hospitals. And we want to enable the person who's requesting the service to engage on the channel that's most convenient for them, which could be a mobile app like ARMA or live chat, a self-service web portal, maybe even sending in an email that we use natural language understanding to process and automate, or selecting a predefined request from a service catalog library. But regardless of how they choose to engage and submit that request or issue to us, that request or issue is going to enter a digital workflow to ensure that it gets routed to the most appropriate person or team. And we track the life cycle of that request using case management, which will govern and oversee and track all the subsidiary tasks that go into completing this piece of work. We're also going to use machine learning and AI to monitor all of the cases in the system to understand patterns and help make predictions about how best to fulfill or resolve this case. So an example of fulfillment might be to create a work order, right? Where we need to contact facility admin departments and have them dispatch a field service technician to a local facility or building to make a repair or perform some sort of maintenance. And because everything is tracked here in one system, you get complete visibility into the end-to-end process to help you understand things like patterns, trends, spot process inefficiencies, and also easily report on your service level agreements and KPIs. So what we saw in the ARMA demo was a great example of kind of the left-hand side of this chart here, the mission engagement side of things. But it was also an example of reactive service. Something broke, and now we need to dispatch a technician to the field to repair it. But how can ServiceNow help be more proactive in these situations? Perhaps even prevent an issue from occurring, whether that's at a facility or happening to a piece of equipment. I'll give you a good example. I was at the FIDIC in Huntsville last month in August, and the AC whole AC unit in the hotel was broken. It was down. A little inconvenience, right? But if that was an AC conditioning unit at a DoD child development center, that impacts quality of life for our warfighters and their families, which is not ideal, in Montgomery, Alabama in late August. So how can we mitigate against that sort of AC unit breaking down? How can we improve the quality of life of our warfighters and our DoD employees in a more proactive manner? And so within our field service management solution, we have the ability to manage all federal assets within a facility from the beginning of their life cycle, when they're being onboarded and installed, throughout its service of useful life when it's up and running, and then ultimately decommission it at end of life. And during the active lifespan of this asset or facility, we want to strive to provide the most effective maintenance at the best cost. And we do this through what we call planned maintenance and proactive monitoring. So when it comes to proactive monitoring, this is our ability to leverage machine learning to look at trends of past service records and help drive more proactive service delivery. So, really what that means is we're collecting data that paints a picture of how equipment is functioning. And we can also analyze trends and determine, things like, hey, instead of waiting another 4 months to do this maintenance, based on information we've collected about these units that have been in service elsewhere, we should probably send somebody out there earlier. And by the way, we have a technician going in that area for some other issue anyways. Let's have him or her work on this AC unit while they're there. And so this allows you to be a bit more opportunistic in your servicing and also facilitates cost reduction. Now, planned maintenance is related to this, right? This is a proactive approach to maintenance and work in which we schedule work to take place on a regular basis. And that's something that I want to spend some time drilling into for the rest of the hour and show just really how easy and how powerful that capability is in ServiceNow. So for folks who may not be familiar, planned maintenance, as I just mentioned, right, it's this proactive approach that we take to maintaining equipment or facilities where we schedule work on a regular basis. And that, can mean a lot of things, right? Because regular basis really depends on the type of work you're performing, the frequency with which it needs to occur, the equipment that you're servicing, and also the environment in which it operates. And so there's a few different types of maintenance that we think about in this space here. One's called corrective, interval, risk, and condition. So what does this mean? Let me use an analogy of a car or some sort of vehicle, right? I'm driving the car down the highway, car's working fine, but the check engine light comes on. Car's still running, I can still drive it, but an anomaly was detected and we need to bring that in to have it serviced and restore that vehicle to its normal operating condition, right? So that's sort of correcting a problem. Interval would be more like sticking with the car. Every 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 miles, that car is going to get brought in or that vehicle is going to get brought in for an oil change and a tire rotation, right? So that's an example of some sort of a meter, right? We're tracking mileage to indicate that maintenance needs to occur, but there's other metrics. It could be time-based, right? Every so many years or months or weeks or whatever, we need to schedule some maintenance to take place. Risk-based would be more along the lines of, again, sticking with the car, the airbag in my car is fine. I'm not having any problems with it, but the manufacturer has issued a recall because other makes and models of the same kind, they've had problems with their airbags, right? So they're sending me a notice saying, hey, bring your car in. We want to, proactively service that vehicle, get that airbag replaced, help reduce any risk that may be incurred in the future based on data that they've gleaned from service records of similar vehicles, right? And then condition-based is extremely powerful. And all of this is business user configurable, by the way, and you'll see that when we hop into the system. But condition-based is powerful because it allows you to define custom expressions and triggers for when you want to proactively schedule maintenance for your equipment to your facilities. So let's say, for example, you have a special vehicle that's operating in a certain type of terrain, and it's operating there for a certain number of hours or days or weeks or months, and that's been towing a certain amount of weight behind it. When all 3 or 4 of those conditions are met, then the system will schedule a maintenance activity proactively to have that vehicle brought into service. Again, business users can go on and can configure that really, really easily. There's actually one other type here that's not listed, and it's called scripting. So this would be more of a pro code approach. If you are inclined to be, if you get developer background, then you want to script something completely custom, we do give you that ability to kind of lean in and take that pro code approach to triggering these maintenance conditions. And there's API documentation to help you do that. But by and large, you do not need to know how to be a programmer or developer. This is all intended for business users to set up. So with that, I'm going to hop into a demo now, and we're going to kind of take a look at 3 things. First, I'm going to start by showing you our dispatcher portal. This is where all these work orders come in and where a supervisor can monitor all the work and all the field service technicians and their schedules. Then we'll look at how easy it is for a business user to set up a proactive maintenance plan that I just described. And then lastly, we'll hop into the mobile experience, right? Because the field service technician who's being dispatched needs to know what work orders they have, where they're going, what parts they need, what they need to bring with them, and when they need to be there by. So there's a mobile component there. And everything you're about to see is completely out of the box with our field service management solution. So I am going to, you should now be seeing my Chrome browser. I am going to be starting off by showing you the dispatcher portal, and I've logged in as a user named Lisa Ray. She's a supervisor or a dispatcher, and here we see she's logged into her dispatcher workspace. At the top here, you can see there's this geospatial representation on a map of where her work is. These blue boxes indicate how many work orders are in that geography. as well as where her technicians are. And then below that, we see, a Gantt chart representation or a calendar view of all the work which the technicians have been assigned. Everything that you see assigned to technicians here has been assigned automatically. So one of the things we want to strive for is eliminating a manual process of having a dispatcher or a supervisor have to juggle these assignments on their own. We want the system to be intelligent enough to do that. So everything you see here has been assigned automatically by the system. And as I scroll down my list of technicians, down, I've got a few of them in my group, we get to what we call crews, right? So a technician is somebody who can go out and perform a repair or some maintenance on their own, but there are certain types of work that require a team of people. I recently had an appliance store bring, a new washing machine, a new dryer, and a new refrigerator to our house. That required a couple of folks, right? So that was the installation crew, several people there. We can see this crew size has 2 folks in it, as does the crew size below that. And if I keep scrolling down, you actually see that we can extend this technology and solution outside of your 4 walls and start working with contractor groups as well. So you'll notice I've got 2 contractor groups that I'm responsible for assigning work to, or that the system is potentially going to assign work to, Turner and Walker. And the windows, you'll notice they look a little bit different, right? And the reason for that is you get a lot of flexibility in terms of how you manage contractors with field service work. So Turner is able to have 8 tasks assigned per week. That's why you see this white bar kind of span all 7 days here. Whereas Walker, we're managing their capacity on a daily basis, which is why you see that the window is kind of limited to just a single day. Now, lastly, over here on the left-hand side, these are work orders that were not assigned automatically. These are representing exceptions that Lisa, our dispatcher, needs to interact with. So as I mentioned before, all the work in the Gantt chart here has been automatically assigned, but there's reasons why potentially no one's available, or you may set up rules in the system that say you don't want to automatically schedule certain types of work orders to be routed out. You want to have a dispatcher manage them individually. So a couple of reasons why you may be dealing with these exceptions. But in any event, for this particular work order task here called annual safety inspection, I can click on it and the system's going to kind of then just rank folks that may have eligibility to work on it. We can see Teddy Taylor, he's 17 miles away. He has all the available parts and all the available machinery. So I could just take this card and actually drag it onto the map on any of this white space. The white space represents the technician's available hours. The gray space represents when they're off hours. But another approach would be to click the hamburger menu and then say auto assign. And what the system's going to do here is take a look at, what's the details going into this work order, and also, what type of parts are required, how long do we think it's going to take, what kind of skills may be required, and it's going to say, okay, based on all those considerations, Teddy Taylor really is the best person to have assigned to this. So we'll go ahead and hit confirm, and the system's going to assign that to Teddy tomorrow afternoon. Getting some feedback that maybe we need to increase the resolution here. So let me just zoom in a little bit. Hopefully this helps. A little bit. Okay. Like I said, we're striving for fully automated tasks to be sent out, but again, managing exceptions is kind of baked into here, and being able to manage that efficiently is part of the process. Now, what you'll also notice, let me just zoom this back out again real quick because we want to see something here. Looking back at my assigned work orders, right? This is all the work that's coming in for the field service group to be dispatched to. If I take a look down at Anthony Roy, for instance, he's my service technician down here. He's actually been assigned to fix that leaky water pipe that the ARMA application created here. So this is an example of a type of task or work order that came in from a channel, that ARMA application. and the system automatically routed it to Anthony Roy for him to go off and work. But we're also unifying this view with planned maintenance activities. So if we take a look at Teddy Taylor across the top, we see he's got a task assigned that's coming up shortly called regular HVAC 6-month service. And so this is an example of the system having created this work order and assigned it to Teddy based upon a maintenance plan that we've defined in the system. And so to take a look at how easy it is to define one of these maintenance plans, I thought what better way to do it than to actually just build one out with you guys here today. So I'm going to change tabs here, and these maintenance plans, please give me some feedback if you guys are having trouble seeing this. These are existing maintenance plans that have been defined already, that are in effect. You can see they're all active, but not all of these maintenance plans are exactly the same. Here we can see under this type category, some of these are defined as general, and some of these maintenance plans are defined as model-based, right? So what's the difference? Well, when it comes to a model-based maintenance plan, that's where we're setting up a particular plan for specific models of equipment, like certain models of HVAC equipment, right? Or certain models of printers, potentially certain models of routers and other types of equipment that you have in your CMDB. Other maintenance plans, though, that are defined as general, we can apply these to all sorts of other objects in the system, such as locations, general maintenance on buildings, or even assets that are being tracked in the system. But this can really be anything, though. So you can have a maintenance plan set up for an aircraft, for instance, or components on an aircraft, an airfield, a military vehicle, a missile silo, et cetera. So to show you how easy it is to set one of these up, I'm going to come here and click this new button in the top right corner. And there's really 3 components that go into this. It's really what is it that we want to be servicing? When do we want to be servicing it? And then when the technician arrives on site, how do they go about providing that service, right? So it's what, when, and how. That's how I tend to think about it. So in this screen, we're really kind of defining the what, right? So if we're concerned about the AC units at the child development centers in Alabama, we'll create a maintenance plan for something like that. Maybe I'll call it HVAC instead of AC. And then below that, we get to choose, is it a general type of maintenance, or is it going to be based on some model of hardware or asset that we have in our inventory? So I'm going to go ahead and choose model-based. And that's going to give me the ability to do a lookup in our CMDB for all the different models of equipment we have that we can perform maintenance on. So I'm going to type in carrier, and here it is. So there's the carrier model 48TC Weathermaker. It sounds like a beast of an equipment here. And that's the model that we're interested in having this maintenance plan applied to. Now I could go ahead and add others as well, right? I could have several other types of models of equipment that we want to maintain in the same way, but I'm going to leave it at this one for now. And when I chose that model, the system actually went out and looked across our inventory and found that there's 5 of these units deployed. So these are the 5 units that this maintenance plan will affect. And if I click into this here, we'll actually see these are the different units: HVAC 32, 34, 35, 36, and 40. Those are all out in the field in operation today. And they're all at the same location. So I can see exactly what assets this maintenance plan is going to apply to. But let's say next year, next month, next week, we buy another one of these units and we deploy it and we operationalize it. We don't want you to have to remember to come back into the system and add it to the plan. So I'm going to leave this checkbox here, which says apply to new matching records. I'm going to leave that enabled. And what that tells the system is if we do deploy any new units that match the same model in the future, automatically have this maintenance plan applied to it so that nobody has to remember to go in and do this later on. So what I'm going to do is kind of hit save here. That's the what. That's the what are we servicing here. And now we get to maintenance schedules. And this is really the when. So I'm going to come in here and define a new maintenance schedule. And I'm going to call it HVAC 6-month service. Now, we talked about the different types of planned maintenance, risk-based, conditional-based, interval-based. And we can kind of configure that here, right? So do we want to trigger this maintenance based on a meter reading, meaning, like a temperature sensor, a sensor recorded a temperature that was too high, or an odometer exceeded a certain number of miles or something like that? Do we want it to be condition-based, that example of a certain type of vehicle operating in a certain type of environment for a certain amount of time, towing a certain amount of weight, right? And being able to model out all those conditions using and/or logic here by choosing our fields and choosing our values, which is extremely business user friendly. Do we want to take that pro code approach and lean in and start writing some scripts? Or do we want to do more duration based? So since this is going to be a 6-month routine service, I'm going to leave it at duration. And now my trigger type changes and I can choose which interval I want to use it. So I'm going to stick with, I could go to weekly, monthly, annually. I'll just stick with interval. And I'll say that I want this to apply to, I want the planned maintenance activities to be triggered every 180 days. When I go ahead and save this, right, this is kind of narrowing in on the when, right? So we got the what and we got the when. Now we're going to define really the how. So how does a technician service this equipment when they get on site? So there's a maintenance template capability. I could go off and define a new maintenance template, but the idea with maintenance templates is that they're supposed to be reusable. And so I'm actually going to pick an existing maintenance template that I've set up already, and then I'll pop it open and you can see what it looks like. So I've got a regular HVAC maintenance template added. I'm going to apply it here to this maintenance plan. Go ahead and hit save. And you see it gets added to it right here. Now, I'm going to pop it open and we'll see under the hood here, because there's a lot of detail that goes into kind of the how we want our technicians to perform this maintenance, right? This is also information that's going to affect the scheduler. So real quickly, we're going to say that the name of the task the technician performs is a regular HVAC 6-month service. There are some parts that they want to have with them. They want to have a Hurley replacement filter, quantity 1, and also a blade fuse, quantity 1. If I have multiple dispatch groups, maybe in LA, Houston, Boston, Chicago, which group do I want to have this task dispatched to? There are any dependencies to take into consideration? And what type of work is it? I'm going to choose planned maintenance as opposed to install a break fix, because for reporting purposes, this activity will help us report on planned maintenance separate from those other types. I can choose whether it's a crew is required, and then also the estimated work duration. So on average, how long do we think this task takes? We think it takes 2 hours. That's important because we wouldn't want to schedule this to somebody who only has 45 minutes of free time in their day. And then I can go ahead and add any skills, right, that I need potentially to service this type of equipment. And the scheduler, in 6 months, when the scheduler creates these work orders, it's going to take into consideration all my technicians that are in this pool, all the inventory that they have, the skills that they have, and their availability to help route it to the best individual. So with that, that's how we kind of landed up here with this regular HVAC 6-month maintenance task on Teddy Taylor's list. And so what I'd like to do real quickly is just show you a little bit about what Teddy Taylor's experience looks like, because he's going to have to go out there and perform this work. I'm just going to do a quick refresh here, make sure that hasn't timed out. And I'm going to show you my mobile phone here. This is Teddy Taylor logging in. You see the ServiceNow agent application down at the bottom. We're going to click in. And we see Teddy Taylor has an upcoming task called regular HVAC 6-month service, which is scheduled at 13:54. That's the same task here that's showing up on Lisa's Gantt chart. Teddy's going to come in here and accept this activity, accept the task, to say he's got it. He's going to be able to go out. And you'll notice immediately here on the dashboard, this block here for this task changed from purple to blue. So there's a real-time feedback happening between the mobile application and the dispatcher portal. As soon as Teddy is ready to start traveling, he clicks the Start Travel button. This is going to start the clock for his windshield time. So we'll know and report on how long it's taking him to travel from the job site, or to the job site rather. And again, you notice here in the dashboard, it adjusted its color to yellow. Again, just more real-time feedback taking place in the system. When Teddy arrives on site, he's going to click that start work button down at the bottom. That's going to stop the travel timer. We'll see this task in the dashboard here snap over to present time, and we'll see that it changes its color. And Teddy's also going to be able to now start servicing this unit. So he's got some information he can look at about what he's supposed to be doing. If he clicks on the hamburger menu, he can come into parts. Down at the bottom, there are some part requirements. Remember, we set this up in that maintenance template. There's the Hurley replacement filter and the blade fuse. Now, he may choose to replace one, not the other. He can come in and click the use part button down here below, come down, finds his blade fuse, swipe over, click use part. That's going to be updating the work order to say this part was added to this piece of equipment, and it's also going to decrement his inventory in his truck so that it's reflected for his next visit. He also has the ability to hop into his inventory by clicking this at the very bottom here. Teddy can see all the items that he has in his inventory on his truck. So he's got the blade fuse, he's got that Hurley filter. If he clicks in here, you can see he's got 43 of those available. If there was a part he needed to source from somewhere else, he could click this check part availability and start searching on other parts in the inventory. So if he's looking for a different type of filter, perhaps it's the Phillips filter replacement kit, you can click on that and run a search. And this is going to go off and search nearby locations for where Teddy can source this part. And so he actually found it in the Boston warehouse. There's 114 there, and he can initiate a transfer request. While Teddy is performing his job, if he needs any support, we have knowledge content that's surfaced, which is contextual. So there's a knowledge article for that Weathermaker piece of equipment that he's being asked to work on. And you can click a link and immediately be taken to the manufacturer's service and maintenance instructions document. So right at his fingertips, he's getting contextual information that's going to help him perform this job as effectively as possible. Now, when he's done working on his job, he will indicate that he's finished. So we'll come here and he'll do that by clicking the close complete button, provide some notes, just say it was done. If he noticed anything unusual that would require a follow-up task, he could toggle this create follow-up task button, and that'll trigger the system to create some follow-up work and associate it with what Teddy's doing today. But when he clicks done, what you'll notice here is that 2-hour-long chunk of time here just got reduced to a really small sliver here, because we thought this was going to take 2 hours, but in actuality it took us, what would you guys say, 4 or 5 minutes? So that task is still here, it's just really small. So we planned for 2 hours, but it got done really, really quickly. And that tends, that's possible, right? So if this happened at scale, how would you measure that? How would you know that you're blocking 2 hours off on your technician's schedule and that they're routinely finishing their work in 1 hour or 45 minutes, right? So to answer that question, we have a number of dashboards that we surface that will help provide insight into your field service operations. Some information that's displayed here, and again, this is all out of the box. It's completely configurable. You can change this. You can remove widgets. You can add your own. You can build your own dashboards if you wanted to. This is just an example of our out-of-the-box field service performance analytics, and it starts populating day one when you start using the system. So we can see things like mean time to resolve work order tasks and what our trending is there. And we can also calculate our productive time for our work orders, our agent utilization, right? How our rate is there. Frequency of work orders coming in over time, trending, is trending down this week. Number of closed work orders historically. But back to that example of where Teddy had blocked off 2 hours of his day to go service this AC unit, which together we just serviced it in a couple of minutes. That's a discrepancy between planned versus actual duration for work orders. And so this chart here is going to help provide, let me see if I can just zoom in a little bit more for some folks in case you're having trouble seeing. That might be a little bit better. Here we can see that, overall in aggregate for our work orders, we're planning a total of, for the month of September, or for this week rather, 288 hours, but we actually only spent 133. So that's telling us that, we may be allocating too much time on our technicians schedule, or they're faster than we're expecting them. So that's an opportunity to go in and hone in on the duration, the amount of time we want to block off in their schedule. And we can click to open the analytics hub and drill down and get more data. Just one other dashboard here to show you really quickly, because there are several that come out of the box. This one here is going to help provide visibility into work order tasks that are in jeopardy, meaning we're at risk of not arriving on time or not being able to get the work done. We're also going to track a KPI called first time fix rates and trend that to see, are we actually resolving the issue when we send a technician out there the first time, or are we having to send people back out? That's a great opportunity to dig in and do some improvements in operations, potentially adjust the scheduling and the automatic routing features that the system offers. And then utilization, right? So this is showing me my technician utilization rate trending over time up until present time here. And then our analytics engines engaging and saying, based on that trend, here's how we forecast future utilization rates out over the next couple of weeks or months. And that's a great way to help anticipate demand in your workforce and manage your staffing levels accordingly. So that brings me to the end of this portion of the agenda. Thank you for your time and attention with the demonstration. I'd like to turn things over to Sade now and have her talk a little bit about what we just saw on its overall perspective.
Awesome, Matt. That was awesome. Thank you. Those insights are really what are changing the game for our customers. What a single pane of glass on those tasks that need to be performed in the field, throughout a base, across multiple facilities, on different assets. And I think you really nailed the visibility on how resources with the right skills can be matched up with the right parts at the right place and time. So, okay, to recap, folks, what we've seen today, you know now that ServiceNow can modernize DoD user experiences. We've covered how Army has already designed a frictionless customer experience. We've talked about reducing effort while improving operations, decreasing costs, and then planned and preventative measures and how they can increase the lifespan of your deployed assets and overall facility functionality. And last but not least, the positive impact on those that are actually performing the work that you see here on the right side, making everybody all around more effective. So at this point, I've been trying to keep up with some of the questions in the chat. Is there any that we haven't gotten to, any brave souls that would come off mute to ask a question? If you can, I'm not sure if you can, but ask away. Now's the time.
So starting with the Q&A pod, we have, given the 3-month implementation of ARMA, did that include building a CMDB and inventory list, or were those all just imported? Also, how much of the Army was implemented? How many bases?
Yeah, so I think it was 62 bases initially. I will have to, Dave Fisher, I will have to follow up with you exactly on that specific implementation question. Okay, and okay, now I see some of these other ones.
I see a question from Mary. Believe you mentioned the system can receive telemetry. Yes, we can. Does that include autonomous inspection units? I might need some more clarification on what you mean by that, but in general, any system or sensor which is capable of streaming some sort of telemetry data out, either by some type of integration, you name it, Kafka queues, REST APIs, something along those lines, we can ingest that telemetry data, such as from a spot, Boston Robotics. I'm from Boston. I know where Boston Robotics is, up in Bedford. I'm still just needing a little bit more. So like if Boston Robotics, I'll spot the dog. Like if the dog was emitting telemetry data, could we be ingesting that? Yes. Thank you. You got me there. I need to refill my coffee. The answer is yes.
Okay, I see a question. Can ServiceNow work in disconnected environments? I think I understand the question. So we see oftentimes a need to support offline, whether you don't have service in a building, or for our folks that are leveraging the solution in national parks. Absolutely, folks can still have access to the knowledge articles, and it will upload when they are in service. Does that make sense? Anything to add on that, Matt?
Nope, you nailed it. It can be disconnected from off the grid. You can continue to access your work orders, and then when you get reconnected, it'll synchronize back up.
Heather, I think we're ready to close up. Is that right?
Yep, we can close up.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, folks. Really, the purpose of today was just to expand the mind of all you in the audience for what the art of the possible with out-of-the-box workflows in field service management can do. Thank you, and virtual round of applause to Matt. Thank you so much.
And thank you to Carahsoft for sponsoring. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Carahsoft.